There was so much I had to talk to my daughter about, but sleep took over me. The soft murmur of the wind caressed the curtains, they were like a relaxant that lulled me to sleep. My daughter, with her eyes full of joy, looked at me and laughing said, "You're already sleepy, Mom." I nodded my head and said, "Well, daughter, I think I'm going to go to sleep, because I think these years are already weighing on my shoulder." "Hush, Mom, you're still young," my daughter responded with a tender smile. "My grandmother doesn't even say that, she's already further away than here." We laughed together. "Don't talk like that about your grandmother, respect a little," I told her with a knowing tone. "It's your fault, Mom, it's you who makes me talk like that," my daughter replied with a playful laugh. Before retiring to rest, I couldn't help but ask, "Isn't something wrong with your husband, or don't you think it's already too late for him to be on the street?" "Don't worry, Mom. He probably met a friend and will be helping out," she said, trying to reassure me. I pursed my lip and nodded my head, as if to say, "Well, if you say so." But my heart did not share that calm. "You should warn him and help him not to do that," I insisted, worried about what could be happening. "Mom, if you only knew that I have already told her in many ways, but nothing, she doesn't listen," my daughter confessed with resignation. He sighed deeply and while lifting the cups from the table, he said, "But don't worry, Mom, he won't be long in coming," thus seeking to dispel my concerns. I walked towards my room and lay down on the bed, lying face down. The cold of the night enveloped me like a subtle mist, tearing me from deep sleep. With caution, I avoided turning on the bedroom lamp and took refuge between the blankets, longing to regain the warmth stolen by the early morning. However, an invisible whisper caught my attention, the faint murmur of footsteps echoing in the hallway. From the semi-darkness of the room, my eyes fell on the window, where a sliding shadow was cast against the glass. It was a man. I deduced from that he was my daughter's husband, since my son-in-law was the only one absent from home that night, and the only man in the house. A shiver ran down my spine, but my curiosity overcame my fear. The rubbing of my feet in search of warmth was interrupted by the creaking of the door handle. Slowly, as if time stretched in a silent dance, the door opened, and the moonlight filtered its glow into the room. I instinctively closed my eyes, simulating a deep sleep. The silence of the night was interrupted by the heavy breathing emanating from the figure standing at the side of the bed. I felt the closeness of his presence as his hand traced an invisible path over my face. Uncertainty took over my being, but I decided to keep up the charade, believing that my son-in-law was wandering around looking for something without wanting to wake me up. But when he felt that his hand was not standing still, but on the contrary, he was beginning to travel a broader path, I opened my eyes in a flash of surprise. "What's wrong with you? What do you think you're doing?" I asked, trying to stay calm. "Don't you realize I'm your mother-in-law?" "Your room is at the end of the hallway," I added, trying to dispel the confusion that was creeping into the darkness. The silence became dense, broken only by the whisper of my own breathing and the beating of my heart, as I waited for an answer that would reveal the mystery of that unexpected visit. At that moment the light in the hallway turned on and my daughter's voice became present. "Honey, it's you," she said as she walked down the hallway. My son-in-law, with his pleading face, begged me not to make a noise. I was visiting my daughter and son-in-law's house. I am one who believes that couples should each be in their own love nest. That is why I did not interfere in their lives, only when they asked me for help or advice. But this was a special occasion for me. 20 days had passed since her firstborn had come into the world, and although I was not there present at the event, due to the distance that separated my town from the bustling city where they lived, I felt a mixture of excitement and curiosity to meet my grandson. Upon entering, I was greeted by the soft murmur of a tune coming from the next room. The delicate tones of the peaceful sound in the environment created an atmosphere suitable for a little one. My ears delighted in the harmony, but my attention was quickly diverted to the mischievous gaze of my son-in-law, who greeted me with an enigmatic smile. "Welcome, mother-in-law," he murmured while his eyes sparkled with a mischievous light that I couldn't decipher. The walls of the living room were adorned with paintings that captured moments of family happiness, but something in the atmosphere made me feel as if I were facing a mysterious plot. My daughter appeared on the scene, holding the little boy in her arms, whose curious eyes explored the world around him. "Hello, Grandma," my daughter exclaimed, pretending to be the little one who was greeting me. And approaching with a radiant smile, he offered me to hug the offspring, and I took him in my arms, while my daughter hugged me in a warm hug. "Look, Mom, this great gift I have today." "Wonderful gift, daughter," I told her. And looking at my son-in-law I said, "He has your eyes, dear son-in-law." My son-in-law then looking at me said, "But he also has your lips." I didn't want to answer anything, but his attitude caught my attention. During dinner, cutlery clattered softly against porcelain, and the clinking of glasses created a symphony of flavors and conversations. I looked at my son-in-law more closely, noting the way his eyes met mine enigmatically. I started to feel a little uncomfortable, and I even thought I should change my outfit, because his eyes insisted on landing on what my neckline was trying to hide. After dinner, we retired to the living room. My son-in-law came up and said, "I think it's compelling that we celebrate this." And uncorking a bottle he served me a small glass. I'm not much of a wine drinker, but I thought that one a year wouldn't hurt. Furthermore, my daughter also said, "Mom is nothing more." I took the glass from his hand and toasted him. We started talking about when I had this experience with my daughter. Something so unforgettable that for me it is still fresh in my memory, I told him. My daughter looked at me with so much love that her eyes became shiny. At that my son-in-law said, "Another mother-in-law?" "No, I think I passed, it was fine with that little bit. Because I already feel a little dizzy." "Don't tell me that, mother-in-law, you only took a little bit." "Yes, but it was good, drink if you like, we'll accompany you here." "Oh well," he said and poured himself one more drink. Just then his phone rang and he got up from the couch and said, "I think I'm going to leave you two for a moment so you can talk. And my dear mother-in-law, I beg you to give my wife some instructions, so that she knows how to act now that she has this responsibility." He approached my daughter and gave her a kiss, and said, "I'm back, honey, it'll just be a little while. I am a woman who has not been so well reciprocated in love. My love life, a labyrinth of disagreements and disappointments. The only tangible proof of those past loves was my daughter, the fruit of my first marriage. Despite my efforts, the relationships that followed were like broken pieces of a puzzle, never quite fitting together. A second marriage, a third attempt, and so on. The list stretched like a rosary of disappointments that resonated in the dull echo of my memory. My refuge became the constant exercise, the rhythmic swing that dragged me away from the shadows of the past. The mirror in front of me reflected a figure sculpted by discipline and time. Every drop of sweat, every repetition, was an act of self-love in the midst of a sea of disappointment. My body became a monument to resistance and the desire to be the master of my own destiny. It was not that he sought to light the flame in others, but rather to feed the spark that had started to shine inside me. Self-acceptance became my lighthouse, and each exercise routine, my liberation ceremony. In the silence of the gym, I found the peace that broken hearts could not provide me. The next morning, the sun filtered its rays through the curtains, illuminating the room with a soft light. The air was heavy with a silence that heralded a calm day, but inside me, intrigue and confusion boiled like a storm. I decided to face the situation and talk seriously with my son-in-law. The night before had been an enigma, and she was sure he hadn't gone to the wrong room. I dressed in a blouse that covered me, seeking protection from the shame I felt when facing him. Walking into the kitchen, I found my son-in-law deep in thought, drinking coffee. As if trying to find answers at the bottom of the cup. "Good morning," I murmured, trying to break the tension. "Good morning, mother-in-law," he responded, with an expression full of nervousness. "You know, we need to talk seriously," I said determinedly. "I think so, mother-in-law." "You're right," he admitted, staring at me. "But first I want you to listen to me, because at least you will know and I will have something in my defense." I accepted with a gesture, intrigued by what was about to be revealed. "Well, I'm all ears," I conceded. Then, my son-in-law's words began to flow, revealing an unexpected truth. "I'm very sorry for what happened last night, mother-in-law, but I don't know what happened to me. It turns out that my wife has refused these days and doesn't want anything to do with me. And the truth is that I feel like I'm bursting inside and I have nowhere to vent. You understand me, dear mother-in-law, and that's why last night I wanted to beg you to help me with that." I froze at his words, trying to take in what I was hearing. "And why do you think I can help you with that?" I asked him, feeling a mixture of annoyance and surprise. "Mother-in-law, not to criticize you, but I thought that since you have been arm in arm, maybe you could also tuck me in." He said those words without a filter. Offense and disbelief took over me. "You still don't know anything about life and you are judging me, wanting to benefit from everything I have been through," I reproached him firmly. "No, mother-in-law, sorry, that's not what I meant," he stammered, trying to remedy his words. "That's what I tell you, mother-in-law, I don't know what to do or how to do it, much less explain it." The words floated in the air, mixing with the tension and disbelief of that unexpected moment, where intrigue and misunderstandings had woven a complicated plot on the canvas of our lives. At that point my daughter appeared with the baby in her arms. "Good morning, family," he said. He sat down, holding the little one out in his father's arms. I started to think clearly about what I was going to do, and the next morning I called my daughter and son-in-law. "Guys, we need to talk," I announced with apparent calm, even though my heart was pounding. The objects in the room, from the clock on the wall to the family photos on the mantel, seemed to watch us silently. I took a seat in front of them, with the determination of a woman who knows that decisions are what will make your tomorrow better or worse. "I was only going to stay 4 days, I began, sliding my words carefully, "but I've decided to leave one early. They need to have a little more communication, each one has their needs and they must comply with each other. In this way they will close the door to leading a double life." My eyes moved from my daughter to my son-in-law, searching for some trace of understanding in their expressions. My son-in-law's sincere gesture of thanking me broke the tension for a moment. "Thank you, mother-in-law. Thank you very much for your great understanding," she said, and although her words were gratitude, her eyes revealed a mixture of shame and shame. I stood up, feeling the need to escape the stuffy atmosphere. "I'll be leaving in a bit because I have things to do," I announced, looking at the two of them. My daughter, without knowing anything about what I experienced in her house, said, "There, Mom, I would have liked you to stay a little longer. But hey, you are the one who decides. Just remember that you are welcome whenever you like to come. Your past is not what defines your future, and even if things have not turned out the way you want, it does not mean that you serve as a consolation to others." Do you think she did the right thing? I want to thank you for listening and spending time with my stories, and before saying goodbye, I want to recommend that you subscribe to my channel and activate the bell, without forgetting to press your thumb up, as a sign that you liked it. A big hug from your friend Lucy, until next time.